Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a quick overview about an issue that might arise with your customization code after the Angular 1.8 upgrade, which is planned for the November 2022 release. Then I'm going to show you how you can figure out if you're affected by this issue, and then I'll show you how you can mitigate it and fix your code. Okay, so what is the issue? The issue has to do with bindings on components and controllers, right? Currently there's something called pre-assign bindings, and it is enabled, and we are on version 1.6 currently. And this flag is gone basically once we upgrade to version 1.8. So what's going to happen is if you're using any bindings on your component, you cannot use them directly within the controller function. You're going to have to wrap your code with a $on_init lifecycle function. So in the code in this example, you can see that we're trying to access the parent control binding, and this is going to throw an error since in the scope of the controller function, the parent control binding is undefined, right? So the way you would go about fixing this issue is quite simple. You would do is you would define this $init function and basically just access your bindings from within the scope of the $init function. Okay, so I'm going to give you a quick demo of how you can figure out if you're affected by this issue. So I have here my Primo V environment, and I've already uploaded a customization package to it. Let me show you the code that's running on it. So it's a very simple component. All it's doing is basically displaying hello world, and it's logging to the console the VID through the parent control binding. Okay, so you can see here's the hello world, and at the moment you can see I have no errors in the console. Everything's working fine. So how can we figure out if we're affected by this issue prior to November? What we have is this flag over here, test Angular compatibility equals true. So I'm going to add this flag to my URL and refresh the page. And you can see now I get this error over here that says cannot read properties of undefined, reading VID. And it's coming from my custom JS file. So what all of you can do right now is just add this flag into your URL and just look in the console and see if any of these errors are popping up. And that way you can know if you have to take any action with your customization code. All right. So once we know we have an issue, how do we fix it? So if you guys are familiar with AngularJS, you can obviously do it by yourself. I showed before how you can wrap it in a $init function. But for those of you who are less familiar with AngularJS, we wanted to make this transition a little bit more friendly. So I built this tool over here that will take your code and transform it and fix this issue. So so there's actually two ways you can use this this tool. One of them is to go to GitHub and follow the instructions, install it on your computer and run it that way. But we have an even easier way, which is through a website. I can go over here and I'm just going to take my code, copy it, and I'm going to place it in the top left-hand corner. And on the bottom right-hand corner, I'm getting an output, which is the transformed code. And as you can see, it took my code and wrapped the relevant part of it with the $init lifecycle function. So once I do this, I can copy the code over here and override my my customization package in Anima. Let me do it now. And once we do this, we should see that the error is now gone away and everything should be okay. Okay. Let's go back to my Primo V environment. Put up the DevTools over here and I will refresh the page. Notice I still have the test Angular compatibility flag set to true. And as you can see now, the error is gone. So everything is working, and in the scope of the $init function, the parent control binding is available. So no more errors. Yeah, that's me. So back to you, Scott.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pass the ball to Daniel, and then Daniel, you can present. Hold on for a sec.
No problem. And my stuff will feel pretty similar to what you all just see, just kind of where we're kind of reviewing through what I did when I went through using these tools myself. Just bring my slides up here. Go over. There we go. Yeah, so I'm here from the University of Kentucky and also from the Eluna Primo working group. Went through all this myself about a week ago, and I just started with that 1.8 page that we were just looking at. I grabbed that. Oh, actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me give a little context here. We're just our one institution with Primo VE. We've been on it since last summer. Before that, we were BO for a while. We really just have two views. Our main one that covers most of our search experience, and then we have a separate one that we spun off for some specialized stuff for our digital newspapers program, because we wanted to try some different search angles on it. I encourage everybody to check it out. But anyway, some of our customizations in our main view, it's kind of a mix of big things and little things, some homegrown stuff that we've made, some links to Atlas Aeon for some of our special collections and maps, our own take on a floor maps integration, and then some of the broader, more popular ones from the community, like the Hockey Trust availability links and browsing links. So just a couple of small icons and tweaks and stuff too. So I just kind of figured, I just kind of went into it assuming everything was going to break, and so I might as well check it all out. Grab that little test Angular compatibility parameter and just start tacking it on and running through a lot of my various canned searches, and I could see the errors popping up. Like when I have, you know, my regular view versus adding that parameter, I could see the errors start popping up. So I know I've got stuff I need to fix. I'm kind of a mid-tier Angular person. Like I'm real slow making it myself from scratch, but I can kind of read what's going on and kind of understand what a program's doing. So I felt pretty good about just going in there and getting my hands dirty. And I will say that once I started digging into this, it did feel like when I first heard this was coming, it felt like it was going to be a much bigger project than it ended up doing. So I want to emphasize real quick that if some of y'all if y'all don't mess with Angular, or mess with your customization very often, or aren't like very strong programmers, don't be put off by this. I feel like this will be a pretty manageable transition. So anyway, yeah, I just grabbed my custom JS and plunked it into that web transformer tool to see what would happen. And you'll see there's, I grabbed a little snippet of the comparison of the before and after. And it probably, I could tell where it was framing things in this new on init parameter or function, and I'd say it did a lot of the work for me on my customization package. I packed everything back up and tossed it into my test view to see what would happen. And I also add just a few little console log lines so I could also tell, like, aside from what I'm seeing in Primo, I wouldn't see in the console when the things were actually triggering, to make sure that they were activating or not activating when they didn't, or when I would expect them to. And it worked pretty smoothly overall. A lot of my canned searches, the errors that I had seen before I ran through the transformer tool went away, with like one exception, but it was mostly a result of something weird I had done to wedge API and browsing together into the same little book years ago. But I just mentioned it because I want to make sure everybody goes through and, you know, check your work after you apply the change and all that. But that's just something I needed to go. I think I just had to add the on init myself because it was something the tool didn't detect. But yeah, and I saw there was some talk about the browsing one specifically on the listserv yesterday. Maybe I'm getting lucky with my tests. If anybody wants to go in there and try and break it and see if it's not actually fixed, you're welcome to. But yeah, I posted our hopefully 1.8 compliant package in our main view a couple days ago. It's right there if anybody wants to get a feel for it. And I'll check it again in November to make sure there are no surprises. But with the tools that were provided and the 1.8 guide, I feel really good about the state of our preparation for the change. So that's us at the University of Kentucky.
Okay, thank you very much, Daniel. Let me go ahead and move to Ulrich. Go. Okay, Ulrich, you've got the control. So if you want to go ahead and share.
Okay, going to share my screen.
If you want to just maximize that, perfect. We can see it. Thanks.
Can see it. So I've prepared a short presentation. It's a little bit about the history of Primo and what we have done in the past, and also what we are doing now. So the Austrian Library Network and Services is the company where I'm working. It's the largest network in Austria. We have about 90 institutions in the library network. And we are Ex Libris customers since the early days of Aleph, so a long time ago. And today, the Alma network zone is the core of our services and Primo too. We started implementing Primo in 2009, so also a long time ago. It was the beginning of Primo. Today we have two multi-tenant local Primo installations. So this is something, yeah, I think there are not much local installation around there. So most of you maybe already migrated to Primo V. But yeah, for us, it's still an important service, and so we are providing this for our institutions. We have two large installations. One of the instances has 43 institutions, which are all managed by us. So we are caring about the back office configuration and all the Primo view configurations and the customization package. And we have a second installation where we only manage a part of the institutions, 7 of them, and the larger institutions, university libraries, they do have back office access and they manage the customization package by their own. So yeah, where it started, in the past we had, maybe some of you also had these JavaScript libraries. If you have been on the old UI, if you're a new customer to Ex Libris, then you've never seen the old UI. And the first thing when the new user interface came up was how we can transform this JavaScript library into an AngularJS package. And the idea was to create a central package, one which can be shared across the institutions which are on the Primo installation. So the first development started in 2016. And today we have a central package which includes 27 AngularJS components. Some of them are very simple and just adding maybe links or doing some manipulations, and we have also more complex components which some of them are highly dependent on our ALMA network zone data and the Primo normalization. So at the beginning, when I started coding, everything was new to me, and I tried to understand AngularJS and the concepts behind. So it took some time for me, I think a few months or almost a year, to understand everything and what is going on. But in the end, it was good to learn this because now today we see that it was the right decision to follow some best practices and style guides. So the Angular lifecycle hooks like the on-init, it is not something that is new today. So it's already in Angular 1.6 and it's best practice since that version. So it's not really new. And yeah, we're also using version control. So maybe most of you also do this. And I also learned a lot from others. You will find a lot of code on Primo on GitHub and searching for Primo Explorer. But the main thing is here, if you start coding a new package, try to define some best practice or follow some best practice and style guides. So this will help you in the future. Development at OBVSG is also maybe a little bit specific. We have a local GitHub installation where we manage all the customization packages. So we have about 50 of them in our local repo. We have also built continuous integration. So every package is tested against against the style guides, for example, indentation or syntax errors or something like that. And the continuous integration also does the creation of the package. So in the end, if I push any commit, any code change to the GitLab repo, then the build process does all the steps which I would normally do on the command line. And in the end, I have a zip file which I can download and deploy to the Primo installation. We are using a standardized container of the Primo Explorer development environment. So this is also important. If you have a team of developers, no one needs to care about installing the Primo Explorer development, so they just can run the container and do the development on their local machine. So this is very helpful. And the container itself is also used in the continuous integration. So we have some rules and guides, and this helped us a lot in the past and now also for the upcoming Angular upgrade. So what we did from the beginning, we did use the on-init lifecycle hook from the beginning in the central package. And the central package is one of the, it contains the most important customizations for the institutions in our consortia. And so that was a good decision to use this from the beginning. So today we don't have really to change this. Maybe there are code parts which will break in 1.8, but as of now I did not discover any problems in our central package. So the customization of the view packages for most of the institutions, it's pretty easy. So the main customization is done on CSS and HTML templates, and everything which is functional is simply activating components from the central package. For example, here you have the Wikipedia service, so it's a component. It does not need any configuration, it just needs the data. Okay, we have the data in our network zone, and therefore this just works without any configuration in the view package. So this also helps us a lot. So we don't have many complex coding in the view packages. So most of the institutions just have a selection of the 27 components of the central package. And if there are specific components needed for a view package, then we follow the style guide, the same style guide which we are using in the central package. And yeah, so we don't have real problems. The third-party components, they are mentioned already. They may need special attention, but I think the communities here are looking and maybe contacting the vendors to be prepared for the upgrade. So I don't think that these components are not ready when the Angular upgrade is done. So I have also tested most of our 60 views, and until now I did not discover any problems for the views managed by the OBVSG, by us. I discovered only one view which does have the problem, which is which Charles described in the first part of the session. And yeah, here you can see exactly the example which will not work in Angular 1.8. But today I've contacted the developer of this code, and he already fixed this. So I can also show you the code and the fix. So he already fixed this in the view package, and as you can see, it's exactly that what needs to be done for this to work. So yeah, this was our experience. So I think there's not much work to be done. Maybe I need to check all of our components a little more in depth, because one question I'm asking myself, I think maybe the developer Charles can answer this. If a component is only activated, for example, on the full display, then you really need to go to the full display to see the error. So if you are on the start page, on the home page of your Primo, then you may not see the problem. I'm not 100% sure, but I think
That
You
was
are
my
correct. That's correct.
Yeah, because we had a map that would not show up unless you were in the full display, and I would have to actually go all the way to it and load it with the param and the CVA.
Okay, that's what I expect. So you need to look at the pages where you have integrated your components and test the compatibility there. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone should just go to where you would actually see the thing that's supposed to happen.
Yeah. Okay, that was my presentation and experience here in the Austrian library network.
Okay, you can go ahead and stop sharing, and we'll address some of the questions that have come in. So just bear with me for a second. First question is, Second, I gotta scroll up because we have received a few questions. I submitted a question on, or an issue on Primo Explorer Devin or Dev on the GitHub. Node 12 is out of support, and the latest node installed on our desktops is now Node 16. It would be great with Primo Explorer Dev supported all node versions currently receiving updates, but if not, upgrade to support at least 14 and 16. Right now, only 14 works out of supported versions, and the documentation is out of date. Can you comment on that?
No, it's something that we will have to look into. I've heard people say that they've managed to use it on Node 14. So maybe it's just a matter of updating the documentation.
I'm using 14.5.3 right now, I want to say, and there was a compatibility issue with one of the modules, like SBSS or something. I don't remember, but there was. We went through this with the Primo working group in January, where we were trying to get more people using DevEv, and there were some package compatibility issues. But yeah, we can get it to work in the 14 territory.
Or I can refer you maybe to Ulrich's solution, where I think he said he containerized the whole the development environment. Is that correct, Ulrich?
Yes, that is correct. And yeah, in the container, we are still on node version 10. So it's
okay.
It's just working. So this is one reason why I've put it into the container. So we have a fixed node version, and we do not depend on the local node version, which is installed on the developer's local desktop machine. So this was one reason I did not look into if it's working with a newer version in the last months. So yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell you real quick. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, just in case anybody hears us say DevEv and doesn't realize what we mean, you can make a simulated local server on your computer that lets you act as if you were actually messing with your Primo customization package. I just put the link in the chat, and if you've never used it, I encourage you. It's a little finicky to get set up, as you might be hearing from us, but it's very useful.
Okay, a follow-up comment to that is containerization will not work. I can do that, but my librarians cannot. I had work to do to convince security to allow librarians to install Node at all. Librarians, we're librarians, not developers like you or I.
Yeah. So I can tell you that I personally use something called NVM, stands for Node Version Manager. Basically, it allows you to install multiple versions of Node on your computer and switch through them by using your command line. So I would look into that also, but again, I can't comment exactly on which version of Node the Devin would work on, because I haven't tested it myself, so I have to look into it.
Okay. The next question is the binding problem in the controller use only or also in the template? And I sent an example of that in the chat to the panelist that the person supplied.
Yeah, so the problem is not in the template. It's only in the controller. So you don't have to worry about your template code.
Okay. That was a second. That was a question here. Hold on. Okay. There's a code related question that I've directed to Shal directly. If I haven't misunderstood something, Angular JS 1.8 is end of life since January. Is a future migration to Angular in the works, or where is Primo VE headed?
I can take this one. So as you can see, upgrading an Angular release really affects your customization. And what we plan for November is really a small and should be a smooth migration to Angular JS. So we are doing that from consideration of security and standardization. With regarding to the long term, we do have on our long roadmap intention to upgrade once we have some kind of internal project within our development and in and once we will have more correct timeline and work very closely with the Primo working group to establish, we will announce to the community on the long-term future for that. Of course, we do aware of this end of life, and actually we also aware of the effect of customization. So this is something that need to take with a close relationship to the community and responsibility, and with a benefit when doing a new interface. But more news will come later on that.
Okay, the next question is the binding problem in the controller used or also in the template?
Only in the controller. Same, yeah, it's the same question as
Yeah,
I think
sorry
we had.
about
Yeah.
I
Oh, okay.
scroll sometimes defaults to the top.
Mhm.
My apologies. Give me a second. We had an error message, type error, colon, cannot read properties or null reading detached instead of type error cannot read properties of undefined in the instructions. At KC, is there a difference?
Well, I'd probably have to look in the code to understand if it's coming from the issue we just discussed, but I'm guessing it is. Usually it's set to undefined from my experience, so I don't know why it's being set to no. Maybe it's a different browser from the one I'm using or a different JavaScript engine, but it's probably coming from the issue that we discussed.
Okay, last question I have right now is when I apply the suffix to the URL of a full view to test my problem link report customization, I do not see the type error in the console, but my customization is broken. What does that mean?
But my customization is broken. What does that mean? I don't know. I'd have to look at the specific code because the error should show up there. I take a look if you're not filtering out errors in the console, because sometimes people have different filters set on the console. So make sure that the console is not filtered. But if it's not, then I would have to take a look at the specific code to understand what's going on there.
Okay, with that said, you've had a couple of questions with regards to looking at the code. Do you or Nili want to comment on the fact that we're gonna get a dedicated Slack channel?
I think that what we want to say, because it's hard to detect error and such questions during webinar, what we are looking to do is to understand the needs of the community in order to make this smooth transition. So there is this channel of the Slack where other community developer can help, and also has can look and see if you are raising over their questions. Alternative, there is an option also to submit a case to consult with us. If there will be many questions and they require a more technical session where dedicated people can help each other, it is also an option that we can think together with the working group. We used to do that while doing the new interface. We had some kind of day where we have supported people looking into the community question and helping. This is also an alternative. What we want to say, we are really glad that you are start checking and preparing for the November, and even before it is recommended to even upgrade before. So as I said, we do have the case, the support channel, the Slack channel, and raise it also in the Primo list. If there are more needs, we will have another more hands-on and technical sessions to assist.
Yeah,
And
I,
it's-
sorry.
Sure. No, go ahead, please.
I was going to go say that. I was just going to echo that this is something y'all can go out and work on today and get locked down way before November without messing with how your current integrations are functioning. Like your patrons won't even notice the difference.
Right.
Okay. We did receive another question. Shoal, you might want to look at it. It does have some code in it. To
All right,
confirm, we are supposed to add. Hold on, to confirm that.
Yeah. So he's asking if we are supposed to add the test Angular compatibility equals true parameter to the URL, and the answer is yes. And the ampersand, yeah. So if you add it at the end of the URL, then you should have the ampersand there. Yep.
Okay, Nilly, we did get a follow-up question about the Slack channel. Where can we find it? And if it's not available, when do you think it would be available?
Shall can we send or I can put in the
Yeah, we will.
notes?
Yeah. What we're going to do is we'll set up a dedicated Slack channel to answer any questions that might arise from this whole process. And we will communicate it once it's up.
We will add it to the Primo announcements page on the preparing Angular. So
yeah, and I will make myself available on that channel a couple of times a week and to answer any questions that people have.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. So, Nilly, do you want to make some concluding remarks? And if anybody else has any other questions, we can go ahead and respond to those if they come in.
So it's a chance to thank Shaul for developing this testing tool, transforming tool, and to you, Daniel and Ulrich, for giving the community the chance to see from your experience how to do this migration. And of course, thank you all for joining. And we would like together to have this smooth transition for November release. Thank you for joining, and we'll do our best to reply.
I don't have any other questions. Let me double check. Yep, no other questions. So thank you very much, everybody. And thank you very much, everybody, for serving as panelists today. Have a great day and stay safe wherever you may be. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.